Today I want to take a look at the St. Louis Blues. And this is my chance to debut. So this magnet I've had for a while. This is one of those auto emblems. I've been collecting these with the idea that for the playoffs, I'd be using these for the playoff boards. I'm going to have 8 different boards for 8 different playoff setups. And so I've been trying to get ones for teams that I think are going to be in the playoffs. And primarily, I've been getting them for other teams too. But I really figured St. Louis was going to be in the playoffs. It doesn't look like they're going to. So let's take a look at it, because there are some notable things that have gone wrong for St. Louis this year. And people are going to say injuries, and that's true. But now they're mostly healthy, and they're still having some problems. So, one thing that stands out to me is Jordan Kyrou. Jordan Kyrou got off to a great start to the season. Absolutely fantastic. I'm still convinced that Jordan Kyrou is going to be a very good top 6 forward in the NHL. I'm convinced he's part of a very bright future for St. Louis. But no points in his last 7 games. No points in 13 out of his last 15 games. Very notable how cold it's been for Kyrou. It's not just him. I know it's not just him. There are other players that are going through this too. But when you look at the overall numbers, it just feels like things have kind of continued a progression. So they won the Stanley Cup in 2019. They had a very good season in 2019-2020. They finished 42-19-10 with a 662 points percentage, right? They end up being the top seed. At least they would have been. And then the tournament happens, the round robin before the play-in round last year, or before the round of 16 last year. So while everybody else is fighting it out in the play-in round, they're having their round robin. And St. Louis ended up 4th. And then they got knocked out by the Vancouver Canucks after that. So there are some reasons for concerns coming out of that. And this year, I don't know if things necessarily got better. So Jordan Binnington right now has a record of 10-11-5, 904 save percentage. And we've started to hear rumblings about Binnington's play. 2018-2019, the year that he's the runner-up for the Calder, he ends up with a 927 save percentage. Last season, his save percentage was 912. So his save percentage is dropped by 23 points from where it was his rookie season. Every goaltender goes through something similar to this, where you can get one over on the NHL that first round, but then teams kind of get a book on how you play, and they get a book on the best way to beat that goaltender. And it kind of feels like with Binnington that's part of what's going on, that the teams have figured out certain weaknesses in his game. And then you look at the backup position. Ville Husso actually has a better record at 6-5-1, but his save percentage is 883. So there hasn't really been a strong goaltending tandem for St. Louis this year, and it does feel like that's been a big part of what we've seen here. Their goals for per game right now is at 2.68, which is low, and their goals against is too high at 3.21. I mean, it's really, really simple. You know, if your goals for and goals against are both middling or not great, you're not going to be in the playoffs. It's very rare that a team can have both of those numbers against them and they end up in a playoff spot. Their power play, it started out abysmal. It got better. It's hit and miss. 17.7%. Their penalty kill started out bad. And again, a lot of that came from that 8-0 game against the Colorado Avalanche, and then, in and around there. But 75.4% is their penalty kill. So that total comes to 93.1% when you add those two numbers together. That's not good enough. 100% is kind of the benchmark you want to be above, and they're at 93. Their shots for and against per game tell you they played relatively well. 29.6 shots per game, 29.5 shots against per game. So they're out shooting their opposition. They're not outscoring their opposition. That, again, can come back to penalty kill. It can come back to goaltending. And, yeah, there's some issues going on with St. Louis. Now, it'd be wrong of me not to mention the amount of games missed by players. And in some cases, it's injury. Some cases, it's being a healthy scratch. Some cases, it's both. So Hoffman has only missed 2 games, but still has 2 games. He's out. Sanford's missed 2. Vince Dunn missed 2. I believe those were healthy scratches early in the season. Jaden Schwartz, 15. Oscar Sundqvist, currently at 10, and we know he's not coming back. Parayko, 21, and he came back last night, and they threw him right into the fire. 19 minutes and 46 seconds against Vegas, and he was a -3. So he gets burned last night, and it's part of the reason we're here with this video today. is that this team just keeps fading. And I'm not saying it's Parayko's fault, but they had to throw him right back into a prominent role. No easing him into it. Tarasenko missed 24 games before his debut. Sammy Blais, 15 games missed by him. Robert Thomas, 19. Barbashev's missed 18. Scandella's missed 7. Bozak missed 24. Gunnarsson, 26. Bortuzzo's been out 10. So it's hard to get on a run when your roster has that much change going on. And when people start getting healthy, that can have a negative impact for that first little while, because now everybody has to get used to playing with different line mates and being in different parts of the lineup at a time where other teams may not be going through that. And it may be that you're just a little bit out of sync, and it doesn't take much. In a league where parity is the word of the day, and it's been the word of the day for years, it does not take much to go from being a winning team to being that team that's below the playoff line. So, their first 10 games this year, they were 7-2-1. Things looked good. That included wins over Vegas as well as Colorado. So things were not anywhere near as dire as they are right now. 20 games in, they were 10-8-2. So over their second 10 games, they went 3-6-1. But again, not any reason to be all that concerned. Injuries play a role there, right? 30 games in, they're 15-10-5. They went 5-2-3 in their third 10-game set. Where it really falls out is the past 8 games. So they're currently at 38 games. They're 16-16-6. They've been 1-6-1. Now, the good news for them is I'm making a video about it. Normally, teams will turn things around after I make a video about them, either in the positive or the negative. If it's a, look how good these guys are, very often everything will just fall apart. But in the case of teams that aren't doing all that well, sometimes they do well after I do a video. So we'll see what the record's like after this video, right? But when you look at the record against teams in their division, there are some points of interest here. So they're 4-1-1 against Anaheim. They've got 2 games left against Anaheim. They do well against the Ducks. So you've got to figure what? They win at least 1 out of 2 there, probably both, right? Against Arizona, they have 1 game left. They're 3-3-1 against Arizona. All 7 of those games were in a row. That was a great series. And yeah, it was one that I don't know if that's where things start to hurt the Blues. I don't know if the scheduling didn't help them either, because you had the certain teams in the division shut down, and then all those games against Arizona were in a row to try to prevent from St. Louis and Arizona from having to have a whole bunch of games in May. Colorado, they're 1-3 against Colorado, so they got 4 games left against the Avalanche. That doesn't help their case as a team that's looking to make the playoffs, right? Against LA, a shocking 2-4-1 record. They have 1 game left against the LA Kings, a team that's handled them pretty well. Against Minnesota, they've only played them once. They lost that game. They have 7 left against Minnesota. If they're going to turn this around at all, if they're going to have a chance, I'll say out of those 7 against Minnesota, they need to win 5 of them. They need to win 5 of them against Minnesota. And even then, because they only have the 1 game against Arizona, they have to hope for some help outside of that. Against San Jose, they're 5-1-2. They are done with San Jose. That's another problem here. The team that they have the best record against that's not Anaheim is San Jose, and they're done with them. They've already played 8 games against them. Against Vegas, they're 1-3-1. They've got 3 games to go. And if last night's game was any indication, Vegas doesn't have a problem with stomping a team a bit while they're down, and so that's an issue for them, because now they have 3 left against Vegas, 7 against Minnesota, and 4 left against Colorado. So that is a lot of games against teams that they're trying to chase down. And again, Arizona, a team that's now 5 points ahead of them, they only have the 1 game left. It's out of their hands. For the first time in a long time, it's out of their hands, right? So what did they lose? What changed in the offseason? The big change is Alex Pietrangelo. 22 games played this year for Vegas, 2 goals, 9 assists. He's a +8. He has been fantastic. And when he got hurt and was out for Vegas, it made a big difference for Vegas being without Pietrangelo, even though he's a new player for them. When he wasn't in the lineup, it was a huge difference on that blue line. Now, I'm wearing my Torrey Krug jersey here, Krug with St. Louis, and of course I loved Krug in Boston. I think Krug's done well. He's not Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo last year was 4th in Norris voting. Krug is not going to make you forget Pietrangelo. It is a huge difference to have him out of the locker room and have Krug there instead. And again, I don't say that as any kind of insult to Krug. I wouldn't have a Torrey Krug jersey if I didn't think the guy was great, but I'm not delusional. He doesn't measure up with Pietrangelo. That's been a big difference maker. Then you've got Alex Steen, who retired. He was a good guy in the locker room. Sure, the offense was gone, but just Steen being part of the team was important. He was a good veteran presence. And then Jay Bouwmeester, who of course was felled last year, and thankfully he's healthy, but his career's finished. And it makes a big difference defensively to this team to be without Jay Bouwmeester. And it's something that people made note of with St. Louis against Vancouver. Those home run passes Vancouver keeps getting, do they get those if they have Bouwmeester? Would Bouwmeester have defended those? There's the argument to be made that maybe he could have. So there's more of an impact of not having Bouwmeester than people may have realized at the time. Jake Allen, currently for Montreal, has a record of 5-3-4 and a .922 save percentage. His save percentage is well above both Binnington and Husso. And while the argument can be made that, he's playing well in Montreal, and maybe that Montreal has a decent defense, I don't think Montreal is a better defense than St. Louis. No insult meant to Montreal. I think St. Louis's blue line's still pretty good. I think losing Jake Allen has made a difference. I think the biggest difference makers have been Pietrangelo not being on that blue line and Jake Allen not being there to push Binnington. Husso's been good, but he doesn't push Binnington that much. And Jake Allen was fantastic on the road. His record on the road was impressive. And with Allen and Binnington, they took the pressure off of one another. Allen plays very well when he doesn't have the pressure of having to be the guy. And I think for Binnington, he didn't really have to be the guy either, despite his pay telling you otherwise, and despite the Stanley Cup ring telling you otherwise. He always had Allen there to give him nights off, and there was always a feeling that Allen could take over here and there if he needed to, and Binnington could go on a run of playing 4 or 5 in a row. It's not a big deal. And with Husso, who again is a rookie, so you can't criticize him too much as being a rookie and new to the National Hockey League, but it does make a difference in that. St. Louis has lost some of that I don't even want to say mystique. They have the one Stanley Cup, but what made them that champion in 2019, it feels like that's kind of been drawn out. It's been taken away. And whether those 4 being subtracted from the lineup are the biggest part of the reason or not, you guys can decide. But it does feel like St. Louis has really lost something, and I know the injuries have made a difference. Because again, when your roster is constantly being changed, it's tough. And so I have nothing but respect for teams this year that go through injuries like this and they're able to keep their heads above water. It's one of the reasons why the Penguins have a lot of respect for me. The Avalanche as well, where they can go through all kinds of injuries and somehow still manage to be in the playoffs and around the playoffs. It's not an excuse when you talk about injuries when they're this many and it's this many key guys that are getting hurt. So it's difficult. And St. Louis, it looks like a team that should bounce back next year, and yet they'll be part of the draft lottery in all likelihood with the way things are trending right now. If they can beat Minnesota, if they can hold their own against Colorado or Vegas from here, then maybe, right? But it is a tough schedule they have, and again, while they're more healthy right now than they've been, that doesn't necessarily mean everything turns around either. But I'd be interested to know what you guys think in the comment section below. And then the question being too, so let's just say they miss the playoffs this year. How do you fix it for next year? Or do you just leave it as it is and hope that with guys being healthy, that things turn around? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.